Today on Explainer, we're diving into one of the most powerful stories of friendship ever told, the bond between David and Jonathan. It's a story all about loyalty, sacrifice, and a connection so strong it would defy a king and reshape the destiny of a nation.
But before we jump in, just ask yourself, what really defines a true friendship? Is it unshakable loyalty? Personal sacrifice? Well, that very question is right at the heart of the story we're about to explore.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story kicks off in the Kingdom of Israel, a nation in flux. And at its center, we've got two young heroes whose fates are about to get tangled up in the most unexpected way.
On one side, you have David, a young shepherd, a virtual nobody, but secretly anointed by God to be the next king. And on the other, there's Jonathan, the bravest son of the current King Saul, the rightful heir to the throne. You really couldn't imagine two guys from more different worlds.
The moment that changes everything is David's shocking victory over the giant Goliath. This one act of courage basically makes him a national hero overnight and brings him straight into the royal court. And that's where he meets Jonathan, where their story really begins.
This is where a moment of mutual respect blossoms into one of the most famous alliances of friendship in history.
Now, this wasn't just some casual friendship. The source material describes an immediate, intense connection. The moment they met, the text says, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David. It was this instant, profound recognition of a kindred spirit.
And Jonathan proves it with this incredible, symbolic act. He takes off his own princely robe, his garments, his sword, his bow, and his belt, and he gives them all to David. In a monarchy, that is a huge deal. It's an act that completely defies the logic of power. He's essentially handing over his heir status and his military identity to his new friend.
The text puts it so powerfully. Jonathan didn't see David as a rival for the throne. He loved him as his own soul. That single idea sets the stage for every choice he makes from here on out, because he's already put his friendship above his own ambition.
But, you know, trouble is brewing. And it's coming from Jonathan's own father, King Saul, whose admiration for David quickly sours into a dangerous jealousy.
The tipping point? It's a song. After military victories, the women of Israel would sing, "Saul has struck down his thousands." But as David rises, they add a new line, "and David his 10,000s." For King Saul, that comparison was just unbearable. David's popularity had just become a direct threat to his rule.
From that point on, Saul's jealousy just morphs into a murderous paranoia. He no longer sees David as a hero, but as a rival who needs to be eliminated, whatever it takes. David's life is now in constant danger inside the very walls of the palace.
And this is where we see Jonathan's true character shine. In a secret meeting, he comforts David with these words. He isn't just acknowledging that David will be king. He's accepting his own role as second in command. He's choosing loyalty to his friend and to what he believes is God's will over his own claim to the throne.
The situation gets so dire that they need a way to communicate in secret. The question was, how could Jonathan possibly warn David about his father's plan without raising suspicion and putting them both in mortal danger?
So they cook up this ingenious, high-stakes plan. Jonathan would go out for archery practice near David's hiding spot. He'd send a servant boy to retrieve the arrows, and his words to the boy would be a coded message for David.
And then comes the signal. Jonathan yells to the boy, "Hurry! The arrow is beyond you." To the servant, it's just an instruction, but to David, hiding nearby, it's a devastating message. The danger is real. My father is going to kill you. Run for your life. So David and Jonathan are forced apart. But their covenant, their bond, it doesn't end there. Not by a long shot. It creates a legacy of loyalty that will echo for years to come. Tragically, Jonathan and his father Saul die together in battle. When David hears the news, he's just crushed. But years later, after David is finally crowned king over all of Israel, he doesn't forget the promise he made. He actively asks if anyone from Jonathan's family is left so that he can show them kindness. David's lament for Jonathan is one of the most gut-wrenching parts of the whole story. He calls him my brother Jonathan. Mourning a love, he says, was more wonderful to me than the love of women. It's just a staggering testament to the depth of the bond they shared.
And this is where the story comes full circle, just brilliantly. David finds Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, who was crippled in both feet. Instead of seeing him as a potential threat, which was common for kings to do, David brings him into the palace, restores his family's land, and gives him a permanent place at the royal table. The covenant of loyalty was honored.
And that brings us right back to our opening question, but now through a powerful new lens. The story of David and Jonathan is this timeless example of a loyalty that transcended power, family, and self-interest. And it leaves us with one final thought. In our own lives, with all of our competing loyalties, to whom or to what do we give our greatest devotion? Thanks for watching Explain.